You are welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoy my stories, kindly subscribe and share this video with your friends and family so they can enjoy it too. Thank you. Enjoy your new story.
My name is Iris Montgomery. I am 32 years old and a roadside food vendor. The morning air smelled like rain and charcoal smoke as I flipped the last pancake on my small griddle. My food stall sat at the corner of Maple Street and Fifth Avenue, just a wooden cart with a faded blue canopy that leaked when it rained. I'd been standing here since 5 in the morning, my feet already aching in my worn sneakers. The city was waking up around me, bus brakes hissing, horns honking, people rushing past without looking at my little corner of the world. My husband's words from last night still echoed in my head. "You're wasting your time with that pathetic cart, Iris. You'll never survive without me." He'd said it while counting his paycheck, his voice dripping with satisfaction. I wanted to argue, to defend the business I'd built from nothing, but I'd learned that silence hurt less than fighting. So I just smiled and turned back to my cooking. That's when I noticed the old man standing at the edge of my stall, watching me with eyes that seemed to see right through my forced cheerfulness. The old man looked about 70, maybe older. His clothes were clean but worn, a faded gray jacket over a simple shirt, pants that had been mended at the knees. His face was weathered like old leather, with deep lines around his eyes that suggested a lifetime of both smiling and sorrow. "Good morning," I said, wiping my hands on my apron. "What can I get you?" He studied my menu board, which listed simple items: pancakes, eggs, coffee, sandwiches. "Nothing fancy. Nothing expensive. Coffee and 2 pancakes, please," he said softly. His voice had a gentleness to it that surprised me. I got to work, pouring fresh coffee into a paper cup and plating 2 warm pancakes with a small container of syrup. "That'll be $5, I said. He reached into his pocket, then paused. His hand came out empty. "I'm sorry," he said, looking genuinely embarrassed. "I thought I had my wallet. I must have left it at home." I should have been frustrated. It wasn't the first time someone had tried this excuse. But something about his shame seemed real. "It's okay," I heard myself say. "You can pay me tomorrow." The old man's eyes widened slightly. "You trust me?" he asked. I shrugged, handing him the coffee and pancakes. "Everyone has bad days. Come back when you can." He took the food with both hands, as if it were something precious. "Thank you," he whispered. "You don't know what this means." He sat on the bench near my cart and ate slowly, savoring each bite. I watched him between serving other customers, noticing how he closed his eyes with each sip of coffee, how carefully he used the syrup. When he finished, he came back to my cart. "My name is Harold," he said, "and I'll remember this kindness." Then he walked away, disappearing into the morning crowd. I didn't think much of it at the time. I'd given away free meals before, to struggling students, to homeless folks, to anyone who looked like they genuinely needed help. My profit margin was already razor thin, but I couldn't bear to see hungry people walk away. That evening, I came home to find my husband Vincent lounging on the couch, his tie loosened and his feet up on our coffee table. "How was the cart today?" he asked without looking at me. His tone made it clear he didn't really care. "Fine," I said, setting down my bag. "Made about $60 after expenses." He snorted. $60. "I make that in an hour at the office, Iris. When are you going to give up this fantasy and get a real job?" I felt the familiar tightness in my chest. We'd had this conversation 100 times. "It's not a fantasy, Vincent. It's my business." "Business?" He finally looked at me, his expression mocking. "You stand on a street corner flipping pancakes. That's not a business. That's desperation." I bit my lip, fighting back tears. We'd been married for 8 years, and somewhere along the way, his ambition had turned into contempt for anything he considered beneath him, including me. The next morning, Harold returned. He was waiting when I arrived at my cart at 5:30, standing in the pre-dawn darkness like a patient ghost. "You came back," I said, surprised. He smiled. I said I would. He pulled out a crumpled $5 bill. "For yesterday." I took the money and started making his order without asking what he wanted. Somehow I knew he'd want the same thing. As I worked, he spoke. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. "Running the cart?" I flipped a pancake. 3 years. Started it after I lost my job at the restaurant where I used to cook. "And your family?" "They support this dream." I hesitated. "My husband thinks I should quit." Get a job at a supermarket or something more stable. Harold was quiet for a moment. And what do you think? The question caught me off guard. Nobody had asked me what I thought in a long time. I think, I said slowly, that this card is the only thing that's truly mine. Harold became my regular customer. Every morning at 6 o'clock, he'd appear at my cart. Coffee and 2 pancakes, always. We'd talk while I cooked, small conversations about the weather, the city life. He never said much about himself, but he asked me questions. Real questions. About my childhood dream of opening a restaurant, about the recipes I'd learned from my grandmother, about the customers I served. One morning, a young man approached my cart. He looked rough, unshaven, clothes dirty, eyes red from lack of sleep. "Do you have anything cheap?" he asked desperately. "I only have $2. Before I could answer, Vincent's voice echoed in my head. "You're too soft, Iris. You're going to go bankrupt feeding every sob story in the city." But I looked at the young man's face and saw genuine hunger. $2 gets you a full breakfast today, I said. Special discount. His eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he whispered. I made him eggs, pancakes, and coffee, way more than $2 worth. Harold watched the whole exchange silently. After the young man left, Harold spoke. "You do that often? Give more than people pay for?" I shrugged, embarrassed. "When I can. Nobody should go hungry if I have food to give. Even when it hurts your business? My grandmother used to say that money spent on kindness is never wasted. It just takes longer to come back to you." Harold smiled, and for the first time, I noticed something different in his expression, like he was filing away my words, remembering them for something important. "Your grandmother sounds like she was a wise woman," he said. "She was. She raised me after my parents died. Taught me everything about cooking. She'd be proud of you," Harold said softly. Those simple words made my eyes sting with unexpected tears. Vincent never said he was proud of me. My friends had slowly disappeared, tired of hearing me complain about my struggles. But this elderly stranger, who I'd known for barely a week, offered me something I desperately needed: validation. 2 weeks passed. Harold came every morning, and slowly I learned small details about him. He lived alone. He'd lost his wife years ago. He had a daughter once, but she died young. He never elaborated, and I never pushed. Some pain was too private to share with near strangers. But then other people started appearing at my cart. An elderly woman who ordered tea and toast. A middle-aged man in an expensive-looking coat who bought coffee and watched me work with intense interest. A young woman with kind eyes who came 3 times in 1 week. They didn't talk to each other, but I noticed they all seemed to know Harold. They'd nod at him, and he'd nod back. It felt like I was being watched, but not in a threatening way. More like I was being studied. One morning, Vincent showed up at my cart unexpectedly. He'd never visited me at work before. "Vincent," I said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I was in the neighborhood," Vincent said, though his office was nowhere near Maple Street. His eyes scanned my cart with obvious distaste. "This is even more pathetic than I imagined." I felt my face burn with shame. Several customers were waiting, including Harold, who watched Vincent with an unreadable expression. "Vincent, please," I said quietly. "I'm working." "Working?" Vincent laughed. "You call this working?" He picked up one of my pancakes. "How much do you charge for this?" $5? You know what I had for breakfast? A $15 artisan sandwich from that new cafe near my office. That's where successful people eat, Iris. Not at roadside carts run by. "That's enough," Harold said suddenly. His voice wasn't loud, but something in it made Vincent stop mid-sentence. Vincent looked at Harold, taking in his worn clothes and aged face. "And who are you?" "One of my wife's charity cases." Harold stood slowly. "I'm a customer who believes in treating people with respect." Vincent laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. "Respect? Look at her. She's barely making enough to survive. This whole operation is a joke." "Then why did you marry her?" Harold asked calmly. The question hung in the air. Vincent's face reddened. "That's none of your business, old man. Stay out of affairs you don't understand." Harold didn't respond. He just looked at Vincent with those deep, knowing eyes. Something about his silence made Vincent uncomfortable. I could see it in the way my husband shifted his weight, unable to hold Harold's gaze. "Whatever," Vincent finally said. He turned to me. "I'm going to be late tonight. Don't wait up." Then he left, but not before dropping my pancake on the ground and stepping on it deliberately. I stared at the crushed food, feeling something crack inside my chest. Harold walked over and gently touched my shoulder. "Are you all right?" he asked. I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. "I'm used to it," I whispered. After that day, Vincent's criticism intensified. He started inviting friends over just to point out my failures. "My wife runs a food cart," he'd say, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "She thinks she's going to be the next big restaurateur, standing on a street corner." His friends would laugh, and I'd retreat to the Kit Fallon, pretending I needed to prepare snacks. But the worst part wasn't the mockery. It was the way Vincent had started staying out later, coming home smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. One night, I gathered the courage to confront him. "Are you seeing someone else?" I asked. He looked at me like I was stupid. "What if I am, Iris? What are you going to do about it?" "Leave me." He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You can't survive without me. This apartment? My name. Your little cart? You bought it with money I lent you. You're completely dependent on me, and we both know it." I wanted to argue, but he was right about one thing. I had borrowed $3,000 from him to start the cart. Money he never let me forget. The next morning, I arrived at my cart to find Harold waiting with the young man I'd given the discounted breakfast 2 weeks ago. "Iris," Harold said, "I want you to meet someone properly. This is my grandson, Sebastian." My heart stopped. "Grandson?" Sebastian stepped forward, and I saw him clearly for the first time. Cleaned up, well-dressed, nothing like the desperate person who'd approached my cart before. "You don't remember me, do you?" Sebastian asked gently. I stared at him, confused. "We met a few months ago. Different circumstances." Then it hit me. For months ago, I'd been closing my cart late when I saw a young man being cornered by 3 aggressive guys in the alley behind my spot. They were demanding money, pushing him around. I'd grabbed my heavy pan and run over, yelling that I'd called the cops. The guys had scattered. "That was you," I whispered. Sebastian nodded. "I was going through a rough time. Dropped out of art school, arguing with my family, trying to make it on my own. Those guys thought I was an easy target." He glanced at Harold. "I never told my grandfather about the incident, but he has his ways of finding things out." Harold smiled slightly. When Sebastian finally came home, he mentioned a kind woman with a food cart who'd helped him. Then he mentioned helping him again with breakfast when he was at his lowest. "Twice you helped him, Iris. You didn't know who he was. You just saw someone who needed help." My mind was reeling. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Harold said quietly, "I've been watching you for weeks now. Not just with Sebastian, but with everyone. The single mother you gave free lunch to. The elderly man you helped carry groceries. The teenager you let use your phone when he was broke. You think nobody notices these things, but I do." Before I could respond, a woman approached the cart. She was elegant, maybe 50, wearing a business suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. "Mrs. Montgomery?" she said. "My name is Patricia Holloway. I'm an attorney." My stomach dropped. "An attorney? Did I do something wrong?" Patricia smiled. "Quite the opposite. I represent Mr. Harold Fallon." She gestured to Harold, and suddenly everything felt surreal. "Mr. Fallon would like to discuss a business proposal with you." Harold stood. "Iris, I haven't been completely honest with you. My full name is Harold Fallon. I own Fallon Industries." My legs felt weak. Fallon Industries. Everyone in the city knew that name. A massive conglomerate that owned hotels, restaurants, real estate. One of the wealthiest families in the country. "I don't understand," I managed to say. Harold's expression was kind. "After my daughter died 15 years ago, I lost my way. I stopped trusting people. I spent years building my business, but forgetting what mattered. When Sebastian went missing, it reminded me that money means nothing if you lose the people you love. When Sebastian told me about you," Harold continued, "I was curious. So I came to your cart. I wanted to see what kind of person helps a stranger without expecting anything in return. And you fed me, even when I couldn't pay. You didn't know who I was, but you gave anyway." Tears were streaming down my face now. "Over these weeks, I've sent people to your cart. My associates, my friends. Every single one of them reported the same thing. You're kind, you're honest, and you give more than you take. You remind me of my daughter." He pulled out a folder from his bag and handed it to Patricia, who passed it to me. "I want to offer you an opportunity, Iris. I'm launching a humanitarian initiative, a network of community Kit Fallons across the city. Places where people can get good, affordable food made with care. I want you to lead it." I stared at the folder, unable to process the words. Lead it? Me? You understand what people need because you've lived it. You know how to stretch resources, how to serve with dignity, how to build community around food. I can't, I whispered. I'm nobody. I'm just a woman with a cart. My husband is right. I'm barely surviving. How could I possibly lead something so big? Harold took my hand gently. Your husband is wrong about you, Iris. You're not barely surviving. You're thriving in the only way that truly matters. You've kept your humanity in a world that tries to take it from you. Patricia spoke up. The offer includes a full salary, benefits, and seed funding for the first 5 locations. You'd work with a team of chefs, business managers, and community organizers. But the vision would be yours. My mind was spinning. This was impossible. Things like this didn't happen to people like me. Can I think about it? I asked. Of course, Harold said. Take all the time you need. But Iris? He looked at me seriously. You deserve this. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise. They left, and I stood alone at my cart, staring at the folder in my trembling hands. I didn't tell Vincent about the offer. Something inside me knew I needed to figure this out on my own first. But that night, Vincent came home with news of his own. Iris, we need to talk. His voice was different, excited, almost manic. I got a promotion. Senior account manager. Huge raise. Huge. I should have been happy for him, but something in his expression made me wary. That's great, Vincent. It is great, he said. It's everything I've been working toward. And it made me realize something. He sat down, looking at me directly. You and I, we're on different paths. I'm moving up in the world. You're stuck flipping pancakes on a corner. It's not fair to either of us. My blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying I want a divorce. The words hit me like a physical blow. A divorce? Vincent, we've been married for 8 years. 8 years of me carrying you, he said coldly. Supporting your little dreams, paying for everything while you played at being a businesswoman. You knew about my cart when we got married, I said, my voice shaking. You said you supported me. I lied, Vincent said simply. I thought you'd grow out of it. Get a real job. But you're still out there, embarrassing me with your poverty cart. Something in his words triggered a memory. The promotion. The timing. I thought about Harold's associates visiting my cart. Well-dressed people who seemed to be observing me. Vincent, where exactly did you get this promotion? What company? He hesitated. Fallon Industries. They acquired my firm last month. Why? My heart started pounding. Fallon Industries. Harold's company. And they just randomly promoted you? They said I showed leadership potential, Vincent said defensively. Said they'd been watching me. Oh no. Oh God. This wasn't random. Harold had orchestrated this. He'd promoted Vincent to see what he'd do with success. To test his character. And Vincent had immediately chosen to leave me. You know what the best part is? Vincent continued, oblivious to my realization. My new position comes with a company apartment in the downtown high-rise. I'm moving out this weekend. What about me? I asked quietly. Vincent shrugged. You'll figure it out. Maybe your cart will finally start making real money. Oh, and that $3,000 I lent you? I want it back. Within 30 days, or I'll take you to court. He stood up, straightening his tie. I'm not trying to be cruel, Iris. I'm just being honest. You'll never survive without me. Maybe this will finally motivate you to do something with your life. After he left the room, I sat in the darkness, Harold's folders still in my bag. Vincent thought he'd won. He thought he was finally free of his embarrassing wife. He had no idea that everything, his promotion, his new apartment, his inflated ego, was part of a test he'd just spectacularly failed. The next morning, I went to Harold's office address, which Patricia had written on the folder. The building was breathtaking, glass and steel stretching into the sky. The lobby alone was bigger than my entire apartment. I almost turned back 3 times before finally approaching the reception desk. I'm here to see Mr. Harold Fallon, I said to the receptionist. I'm Iris Montgomery. The receptionist smiled like she'd been expecting me. Of course, Mrs. Montgomery. Mr. Fallon said to send you right up. 40th floor. The elevator ride felt like ascending into another world. When the doors opened, Patricia was waiting. Iris, she said warmly. Come with me. She led me through elegant corridors to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Harold was there, along with Sebastian and several other people I didn't recognize. Iris, Harold said, standing. I'm glad you came. Please sit. I sat, clutching my purse. I need to understand something. Vincent's promotion, that was you, wasn't it? Harold didn't deny it. When Sebastian mentioned your husband, I had my people look into him. I saw how he treated you at your cart. I wanted to see what kind of man he really was. You tested him, I said. Yes. We promoted him, gave him money and status. I wanted to see if success would make him appreciate you more, or if it would reveal his true character. He left me, I said quietly. He asked for a divorce the same day he got the promotion. Harold nodded sadly. I know. His supervisor reported the conversation to me. Vincent spent his first week bragging about leaving his deadweight wife to pursue a woman at the office. He has no idea that woman is actually one of my employees, documenting everything he says. My head spun. Why? Why go through all this? Because I needed you to see what I saw, Harold said gently. Your husband has been holding you back, making you doubt yourself. But more than that, I needed concrete evidence of his character for what comes next. Patricia opened another folder. Iris, that $3,000 Vincent lent you? We've traced his bank records. He took that money from a joint credit card, meaning half of it was legally yours anyway. He's been claiming your cart as a tax write-off for years without telling you, pocketing the refunds. And that apartment you live in? Your grandmother left it to you in her will. Vincent had the deed transferred to his name shortly after she died, while you were grieving. You didn't sign anything. He forged your signature. The room started spinning. He stole my apartment? He stole more than that, Patricia continued. He's been systematically taking from you for years, financially and emotionally. But here's the thing, Iris. With the evidence we've gathered, we can get everything back. The apartment, the money, everything. And his promotion? That's being revoked. Fallon Industries doesn't employ people of poor character. I looked at Harold, tears streaming down my face. Why are you doing this for me? You don't even know me. Harold's eyes grew misty. Because my daughter was like you. Kind, generous, always seeing the best in people. She married a man who seemed perfect, but he was cruel behind closed doors. I was so busy building my empire that I didn't see what was happening. By the time I found out, she was so broken down that she couldn't see her own worth. His voice cracked. She died in a car accident, driving away from another argument with him. I've spent 15 years wondering if I could have saved her if I'd paid attention. If I'd helped her see she deserved better. When Sebastian told me about you, and then I saw how you help people despite your own struggles, I saw my daughter. And I thought, maybe I can't save her, but I can help someone else who needs it. Harold pulled out one more document. This isn't just about revenge on Vincent, Iris. It's about giving you what you've earned. The humanitarian initiative is real. We've already secured 5 locations across the city. We have a team ready. We have funding for the first 3 years. All we need is you. I looked at the contract. Director of Community Kit Fallon's. Monthly salary that was more than Vincent can make in 2 years. Full creative control. A team of 50 people. There's one more thing, Sebastian said quietly. He pulled out a sketchbook and opened it to a page filled with drawings. After you helped me, I started drawing again. I drew the food you made, the way you serve people, the kindness on your face. These drawings got me into a gallery show. An art critic saw them and loved them. I sold every piece. He smiled. You saved my life twice, Iris. Once in that alley, and once when you reminded me why art mattered. You fed me when I had nothing, not knowing that you were feeding the grandson of a billionaire. My point is, Sebastian continued, you've been changing lives all along. You just didn't know it. This initiative, it's not charity. It's recognition of what you've already been doing. I looked around the room at these people who barely knew me, but believed in me more than my own husband ever had. I'll do it, I whispered. Then louder, I'll do it. Harold smiled, the biggest smile I'd ever seen from him. Excellent. Patricia will handle all the legal matters with Vincent. Your first location opens in 2 months. We'll start training next week. That evening, I went home to the apartment that was legally mine, even if Vincent didn't know it yet. He was there packing boxes. Oh good, you're here, he said casually. I need you to sign the apartment over to me. My lawyer says it'll be cleaner for the divorce. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who I'd loved, who I'd built a life with, who had spent years making me feel small. No, I said. Vincent stopped packing. What? I said no. This apartment was my grandmother's. She left it to me. Vincent laughed. Iris, your name isn't even on the deed anymore. I am. The apartment is mine. Actually, Patricia said, stepping into the room behind me, it's not. We have proof that you forged Iris's signature on the transfer documents. That's fraud, Mr. Montgomery. The deed is being returned to Iris's name, and you're being evicted. Vincent's face went white. Who are you? I'm Mrs. Montgomery's attorney, and I'm here to inform you that your employment at Fallon Industries has been terminated. Mr. Fallon doesn't employ individuals who abuse their spouses and defraud people. I watched Vincent's entire world crumble in real time. This is because of that old man at your cart, isn't it? He said. That beggar is Harold Fallon, I said quietly. The owner of Fallon Industries. The man who promoted you to see what kind of person you really are. You failed, Vincent. Over the next few months, my life transformed. The community Kit Fallons opened to massive success. We serve thousands of people, not just food, but dignity, hope, and community. I hired other women like me, people who'd been told they weren't good enough, and together we built something beautiful. Harold became like a father to me. Sebastian's art career took off, and he painted a massive mural at our flagship Kit Fallon. And Vincent? He found a new job eventually, a smaller position with a smaller salary. I heard through friends that he'd tried to tell people his crazy ex-wife had ruined his life. Nobody believed him. One morning, exactly a year after that first day Harold walked up to my cart, I stood at the opening of our 6th community Kit Fallon. The mayor was there. News cameras. Hundreds of people. When I started with a roadside cart, I said into the microphone, someone told me I'd never survive on my own. But here's what he didn't know. I was never alone. Every person I helped, every meal I gave, every moment of kindness, it was all building toward this. And I learned that surviving isn't the goal. Living with purpose is. Making sure nobody goes hungry, that's purpose. Making sure people are treated with dignity, that's purpose. And I survived not because someone carried me, but because I carried others. As I spoke, I saw Harold in the crowd, tears in his eyes. Next to him stood Sebastian, and beside him, a young woman I'd given free breakfast to months ago, now our assistant director. We'd all survived. We'd all thrived. And we'd done it by lifting each other up, one meal, one moment of kindness at a time. This is my story. Thanks for watching. Kindly share and subscribe for more interesting stories that will make your day beautiful.